Hi, hello. Good morning, everyone. For us at the Basque Culinary Center, it's an authentic pleasure having you here, Nigel Moore. Nigel Moore is not just the Vice President of F&B in Asia for one of the most luxury and exclusive hotel business in the world, Accor Hotels, but also for us is the symbol of one of the most important and exciting industries nowadays. For us, Nigel, you are the first person, the first expert in the hotel business that is going to participate in this worldwide Gastronomy Shapers program. We have had cooks, we have had gastronomy experts, scientists, and so on, and we were missing you, the hotel business that has really improved and give us another perspective on what gastronomy can be. F&B for us is such an important area of development that it's a real pleasure for us. I'm very happy to have you here, especially also because you are not only a professional, but also a friend and a colleague of one of our professors lecture here at the Basque Culinary Center. So it's a double pleasure for me meeting and presenting you to the public here. The students, most of the students that are here with us are from the business innovation specialization. That means they have a background in gastronomy and they are looking for opportunities in other different areas. So just to start, I would like to thank you for your time, your interest, and as well as your expertise that you are going to share with us. Thank you very much.
Well, hello, Mr. Moore. Very nice to welcome you today at the Gastronomy Shapers to this initiative. We are extremely happy to have you, to host you today in this global initiative, as Itaskun was saying. You represent one of the biggest in the industry, in the hotel industry. We are, as we were discussing before, trying to open this way to our students, and we are extremely pleased to have you today. And our students, I'm sure, are going to have a wonderful time listening to you. They're very excited, and well, they're all yours. The audience is yours, Mr. Moore. Thank you, and I'll let you go.
Well, thank you, Isakun, and thank you, Alfonso. It's great to see you again, Alfonso. It's been a while. And hello to everybody out there. I trust everyone's safe. Obviously, it's a very challenging period at the moment, but it's always a great pleasure to be able to speak to the future. And you, ladies and gentlemen, on this Zoom call, who I can't see, and it's always strange to talk to a picture of yourself on a screen because it doesn't answer you back. But you are the future, and I need personally to take time to ensure that we are growing the future. Because without ladies and gentlemen like yourselves, then there is no point in doing what we do. We are the largest operator of hotels in Asia, and I will share a little bit more of the details about that. But Alfonso sort of reached out to me and asked me a question if I could put a presentation together and speak to you about sort of the linkages between quality and driving revenue. Now, we have a huge sort of analytics department within Accor. It probably takes over 2 floors of a Paris office and has, I know, somewhere between 100, 150 people running IT and systems. But I took a step back and thought, you know what? Quality is just not about running analytics and systems. quality is about a lot of other things. And before we go into the tools that we use at Accor and what I use here in Asia Pacific, I thought I'd just give you sort of an insight of where we're traveling as Accor, as a hotel company. A lot of the details that I have, I will share. You can take away and use for your own presentations. But let me sort of get into this sort of first glimpse of what Accor is all about and what we do. I'm actually the Senior Vice President. We've had a bit of a structural change. Like most global countries, companies, we've had a massive hit with COVID. And we've taken the time to look at our structure. And we've managed to reorganize ourselves. And hopefully that's going to see a saving of somewhere between 200 and 250 million euros going forward. So I had the pleasure of looking after Southeast Asia, Japan and Korea. So that's everything from Japan all the way down to the Maldives, excluding India and excluding China and the Pacific. So over the years, Accor has gone through many changes. The biggest significant change that we saw was the purchase of the Raffles, Swiss Hotel and Fairmont Group in 2017, which really elevated Accor from a hotel company focused on guest bedrooms into a very much elevated luxury lifestyle experience company. In 2017, Accor had, I think it was 16, 17 brands. If I look at the back of my business card today, it's in a region of 40 different companies that we've actually invested in. But bringing it back closer to food and beverage, this slide we pulled together mid-2019, so the numbers may be slightly out, but it gives you an idea that we're running 10,000 bars and restaurants globally. We're employing 80,000 ladies and gentlemen in our food and beverage experiences. And we bring to the business 5 billion euros in terms of food and beverage to the company. So you can imagine the importance and the elevation of food and beverage within a hotel company. And certainly at Accor, it's at the core fundamentals of what we're doing now in terms of food and beverage. Moving forward, we obviously needed to set out our mission of where we are and the fundamentals of our thought process. And I'm glad I'm talking to a lot of culinary experts here. Our thought process 3-4 years ago is that we need to start acting like freestanding restaurants. We've got to stop this mentality of building boring, uneducated, lifeless restaurants around the breakfast experience and forgetting everything else that the customer is needing. How many times have you gone into a hotel lunch and dinner time and you feel that you're sitting in an empty canteen because previously the guys had designed the establishment to cater for the 400 breakfasts that now get served en masse. The food gets slopped into serving trays and the whole experience all of a sudden becomes flat. So we are really focusing on the local community. We want to connect with the local community because it's those people around the hotels that will keep us alive. And I think COVID has been an extremely positive example of this because currently, if I'm sitting here in Singapore, we've not seen any inbound luxury tourism into Singapore since March. So if we hadn't connected well with the local communities, all of my hotels and all of my restaurants would be closed because it's only the local community that's actually supporting what we do. Our goal is to be as good as the freestanding restaurants. It's not easy when you're running a massive company. It's like a ship. It's sitting in the ocean rudderless. Where the freestanding restaurants and the restaurants and bars that you ladies and gentlemen probably want to work in are like speedboats. You can turn quickly, you can change things, but we've certainly changed that philosophy. We've certainly changed the way that we think about food and beverage. And we are becoming one of the most exciting hotel companies to work for in terms of the variety of what we're doing in that F&B space. So we sat back and we looked at trends, and we believe that you shouldn't focus on what's in trend at the moment. You've got gin bars that were in focus in trends 3 or 4 years ago. You have the mezcal bars that are in trend. Rum has become a trend. If you build your restaurants and bars around a trend, give it 3 or 4 years later, they'll be gone. They won't be operating as you want, and you'd have to change out, and you'd have to be building a different business unit. So what we focused on, and what we put together, and what we delivered to our executives and board of directors were 8 trends that you can see on this slide here. The top left one is interested. That everybody is interested in our business. This is saying that you've got all the TV shows. Everybody is a chef. Everybody knows how to cook. Everybody knows how to run a bar. Everybody knows how to run a restaurant. In real life, not many people do. But everyone has become interested in food and beverage. And if you look at all the TV programs, all the master chefs, and all the programs you have, this is the sort of the importance that's been elevated. So we focus a lot on people that are interested in our business. Everyone's become social. So everybody is seeing us on social media. Everybody's looking at what we're doing. Everybody is commenting on it. If you don't have sexy food pictures on Instagram now, you're dead. You're not moving forward. Everybody seems to be informed. This means that you've had a dining experience and it's been a terrible experience. You put a post up onto the web, onto social media, and all of a sudden people stop coming to your restaurant. People are not coming to you. Vice versa. If you're doing something that's extremely good and something that really is amazing in the district that you are, people will travel to you. So again, when we talk about quality and driving revenues, all these factors will dovetail into everything. It's just not the tools that you want to focus on. It's all the things that are around the peripheral edge of how we can actually elevate guest experiences. We say that there is no compromise. No compromise basically means everything we do has to be good or great. It can't be mediocre. We can't have our team members not focused on the right product. We can't be buying produce that is under quality and then trying to work magic with it. If the vegetables have gone off, if the meat has gone off, if the milk has gone sour, we can't use it. So that's what we're saying in terms of no compromise. When we look at healthful, we could spend hours and hours and days probably talking about the trends in health. I think the whole point of this is that we've got to focus really on what is good for us. Not only what is good for us, but what's good for the planet. We've all seen the data and the amount of food waste. We've all seen the challenges of what it takes to get 1 kilo of prime beef. I think it's something like 600 liters of water is needed for 1 kilo of really good quality beef. So being healthful, not only is it good for our own bodies, but it's also good for the planet. And it's also a lot more of our guests are looking for that experience when they're coming into restaurants. And we've certainly gone away from going into restaurants where you're seeing stickers on the menu saying that this is a vegan dish, this is a vegetarian dish, this contains this contains that. We've moved away from that, but still focusing on the produce and that writing menus that are relevant to the restaurant that you're sitting in. The bottom left-hand corner, hurried. If I was sitting here 25, 30 years ago with my parents, we'd probably have, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours to spend over lunch or a little bit longer. These days, I think the statistics are telling us the average lunch is 20 minutes. Everybody's rushing. Everybody is hurried. So whatever we're doing in that sort of lunch business environment, we need to make sure that we can execute it with no compromise. It's got to be healthy, and we can execute it in a very short period of time. So we're linking all of these trends together. And if we're sort of doing this high quality food that's healthy for you in a speedy time and it's great looking, people will take pictures, people will post it onto the Instagram, and people will comment. When we say less is more, this really refers to the quality of produce that we put onto our menus. In the past, I think we've been guilty in hotels of delivering a menu that's probably this long. It has 25 starters, it has 30 main courses, it has 20 daily specials, and so many desserts you can't count. What we're saying on Less is More is that let's just focus on the produce. Let's focus on the produce that's in season. If it's asparagus that's in season, let's focus on asparagus that's in season on specials, reduce your menus. If you go to some of the greatest little restaurants in Tokyo, they're no more than 6 or 7 seats, but they're just doing the world's best sashimi. They're just doing the world's best sushis. So focus on one small thing, do it really, really well, and then you'll be able to grow business forward. Convenience, this is actually quite a surprise. We put this in because this really sort of related when we looked at Airbnb. I remember sitting in a conference back in 2014-15, and someone then asked the CEO of one of the hotel companies, where do you see Airbnb? And he turned around and laughed and said, it's just a fad. It's just a phase of some entrepreneur putting something up. It'll be with us for a year and it will go out of trend. Well, this is one of the pillars that I put together. And when I showed this slide, I had the same question from my current CEO. What is convenience? And this is things like Uber Eats. This is Deliveroo. This is Food Panda. This is your food delivery systems. And during this COVID epidemic, it's been an incredibly successful business for us. This business won't go away. What's happened is that the world, and I'm looking at probably the elder generation who are skeptical about using social media, who are a little bit nervous about how to order food online, all of a sudden have become savvy, they're experts, and they certainly know how to use social media to order food. So all of a sudden, they don't need to go to Model My Restaurant. They don't need to go outside of their own home. They can sit there and have a great culinary, even beverage experience delivered to them. So this is a business that's certainly going to grow in the next 5 years. I think that the biggest challenge that the convenience business has at the moment will be how they cater for the single-use plastic. We certainly have a program in place. By 2025, we want no single-use plastics. So finding the right price point for packaging, finding the right price point to deliver your meals and your drinks to home is going to be the interesting point. So those 8 trends, they're supported by these 4 different pillars. And these pillars, again, dovetail so well into what quality is. What we're saying here is deliver excellence with authenticity and simplicity. Keep it simple, back to basics. How many times I've seen in the last few years that we hire new waiters to the restaurant, they walk into the restaurant, the very first thing that a customer asks them is, where's the toilet? And the waiter just says, what the hell? Why do I want to know where the toilet is? Well, shit, I want to go to the toilet. But where is the toilet? But we don't spend the time on the simple things. We don't spend the time on training our team members. We don't spend the time on proper orientations. The freestanding restaurants, and I've worked in several Michelin restaurants over the years. I remember going into one in North America. I wasn't allowed on the floor until I knew every ingredient, which is in every dish on the menu every day. Now, there's not many of our hotels that are testing the ability of the servers to know that level of experience. But as soon as you teach the right people, and as soon as you spend that time to train them, and I guess I've got a lot of chefs on the phone, and what generally happens is that maybe one young waiter comes into the restaurant, he's missed the briefing, he's asking the chefs, hey chef, what is in this dish? And he's just told to go and serve the bloody dish and get it out there quickly. Now, the point is that if you're putting your menus together smartly, you're using seasonal ingredients, the best way to sell a menu is through your daily specials. So if you've actually spent the time on the culinary side explaining to the waiters exactly what the dishes are, he can then go into the restaurant and be confident on what he's selling. So this is what we're saying by delivering excellence with authenticity and simplicity. And being authentic, we're saying, let's make sure that the produce is authentic. If it is in season, let's use seasonal produce. Again, it raises the quality, it raises the experience. If you're raising quality, you're raising experiences, you're a place to go to. So this is the link that we have between quality and driving revenues within food and beverage. It's not all analytics. It's a lot of basic, simple things that we need to go back to make sure we're doing things right. So entertaining is a second pillar. This is not about chefs coming into the restaurant and waltzing and singing and dancing in the restaurant. This is not your waiters being an opera singer in the restaurant. This is, maybe it's the waiter coming table side and finishing a dish table side. Maybe it's the cocktail bartender is making a Manhattan table side for you. This is when he's talking to you on the bar saying, well, if you want a Manhattan, do you want a bourbon or do you want a rye? Then he's going into the different types of bourbons, and he's going into what those bourbons mean in the different states of Tennessee and Kentucky, and he's talking about them, and he's so passionate about what that product is. It could be a chef who's actually preparing dishes tableside. It could be chefs that are working on buffets, but they need to be connecting to the guest. It's just not a chef or a waiter standing in the corner deadly silent, because that's not entertainment. Nobody wants that. We listen to our guests, and I think the objective of this pillar we'll talk about further in the presentation, because this is fundamentally, if we're not listening to our guests, we don't then understand what is right and what is wrong. We need to understand what we think we might be doing right, we might actually be doing wrong and causing ourselves own harm, where the answer to everything is actually our guests who are telling us, hey, look, we'd love to come to your space, but something is not right. We're not listening. We're not using the tools that are available to us. And I think this one here is where hotel business has an advantage over freestanding restaurants, because we have the money and the technology behind us to do this. And you'll be surprised with some of the technology that we have. And pillar 4, for me, this is the pillar, because whatever I've talked about before, if we are not inspiring, if we're not motivating our teams, if we're not hiring the right people, you will never, ever be able to deliver what you want to deliver. Now, as I say, I am running 12 countries from Japan through down to the Maldives, with Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, Vietnam, and Thailand. Now, I can't be in every country, so I've got to hire the right people who can deliver that authenticity, who can motivate the teams that are in countries, that can inspire the younger generations to come to. And point 4 is a lot of the reasons why I'm sitting and taking the time to talk to you guys and girls today, because hopefully there's going to be a motivation, not just to go to the freestanding restaurants, but to come into the hotel world, because we're doing some extremely fun things in the hotel world. And the best part about hotel world is that we don't have to pay rent on our restaurants. If you look at what we do, we can do everything, and we can make more money because we're not paying rent. Our rent is covered in the whole part of the hotel building. So the great thing is that you get to use your culinary skills within a freestanding space, and not having to worry about paying rent for your restaurant or your bar afterwards. This is a slide that I'm sure my friends at the Hyatt hate for me to show. But if I was to ask everybody on this call, which hotel company does food and beverage the best, I think pretty much, and I would have said the same a few years ago, the Hyatt organization, they got food and beverage right. They spent a lot of time, they spent a lot of money getting it right. Yes, it was a private organization, it was one family for a number of years, but they spent the time. They spent the money hiring the right team members. They spent the right time working with the right interior designers. And Super Potato wouldn't be where Super Potato is, the interior design firm, without the Hyatts. There's one restaurant in Singapore, it's called Mezzanine. This was designed, must be 20 years ago now. You walk into that restaurant, you think it was actually designed yesterday, because it's just so on point with everything that you would expect from a world-class restaurant. Now, the interesting thing here, within the last 3 years, the data of what we monitor and what we look at when we look at our competitive set is that we're starting to outstrip the hire. So we are showing that more and more of our colleagues, more and more of our experiences versus the hire, which what we were saying is probably the best in class, we are now outperforming hire overall in terms of upscale luxury properties. We're not thinking here of the Ibises and the Novotels. This is really more of our luxury products. This is the Fairmonts, the Raffles, the Swiss hotels, the Pullmans, the M galleries. So what we've done is focused a lot on what the Hyatt did so well, but also taking our own freestanding spirit. And one of the most important things on this slide here is on the left-hand side, is that we looked at breakfast. Instead of just becoming a hotel chain that just gave you an awful breakfast, we focused on giving you a breakfast that you want. So in the mornings you come down and you get something that you actually want to eat, and you're not being forced to eat cold baked beans out of shaving dishes. You're not having bacon that is tasting like the bottom of your shoe. You're actually getting very, very authentic breakfast. So if you're in Japan, you're getting the right miso soup and the right cut of salmon that goes with the right rice. So if you're in Paris, you're getting the right croissant, you're getting the right French bread. If you're in Indonesia, you're getting the right batuke soups, you're getting the right noodles, you're getting the right condiments. If you're in China, you're getting congee. You're not wanting as a Chinese traveler to get eggs, bacon, sausages, mushrooms, and baked beans served for breakfast. So we focus on breakfast, and we felt that if we get our breakfast right, lunch and dinner revenues and quality would also increase. And you can see within 1 year, our actual satisfaction has grown 13 percentage points just by focusing a little bit on breakfast and getting a lot more authentic in terms of what we do. Oh, too quick. This is a really relevant slide. So this is our what we call the employment engagement score. This is from Gallup, so a large organization that does a lot of monitoring on satisfaction of workplaces. This could be anything from the motor car industry to banking industry to insurances, but they also do a segment on hospitality. World-class hospitality is sitting at 88 percentage points. Accor is sitting at 77. This puts us, and you can see this dark blue quadrant here, this puts us into the world's leading hotel establishments in terms of quality performance. And you can see that the scores on the right-hand side, how much more engaged we are becoming in terms of our rankings and our scores. And if you actually take a look at food and beverage, the food and beverage score down here puts us at 80%. So that 77 is where we stand with hotels. That includes front office and everything. But the amount of focus, the amount of work that we've put into food and beverage over the last 3 years has put us through this 80 percentage points. Unfortunately, COVID is going to take a massive hit on the industry. A lot of people have obviously left the industry. I saw some amazing statistics last week that over 125 million people in our industry, tourism, have lost their jobs in the last 9 months. So it's not going to be a happy world going forward, but this certainly is something that is key to my heart. This is something that I look at on a very regular basis. This is a year-end score. I'm fortunate enough to have team members behind me who can pull me off the data on a monthly basis. So I get a sense of a feeling of what's happening in hotels. And when things are not working as good as they should be, in my position, I jump on an airplane and I'll go and have a town hall, or I'll go and speak to the teams. Because I think there's a strong motivation of, and I hate to use the word, but the big boss comes to visit, it's motivating. You sit there, you talk. My last big role working in a hotel was running the Fairmont and Swiss Hotel in Singapore. My annual budget, revenue-wise, exceeded $100 million US. One day they found me at the dishwasher washing up dishes, and like everyone was like, "Hey, God, the boss is washing dishes. What's gone wrong? It's only because the old lady was not feeling well that day. The dishwasher was backed up. I happened to be walking through the kitchen. Hey, shit, I'll take my jacket off. I'll roll up my sleeves and I'll be a dishwasher. No problem at all. And everybody needs to have that attitude, because if you have that attitude, this is where you become one of the world's leading hospitality companies, and your respect will be incredible. So this is where I sort of then come into the, I guess, the analytical side of what we do. And this is the first presentation that I sent to Alfonso, and I knew I wasn't happy with it. This is why I wanted to talk for the last 30 minutes about the motivation, about having the right team members, having the right direction, the right vision, because everything that we've just talked about links to this. If you don't do what we did before, you're never, ever going to come to here. The picture on the right-hand side, if anybody's interested, was taken 9 months ago, a year ago. This is the picture of the new Raffles Hotel Singapore that we've just opened. Hopefully we'll be winning some awards at that hotel, just from what we've done. So here we go. Analytics, the boring part of hospitality, because if you're a chef, you don't want to look at numbers daily and look at reports. You just want to make sure you've got the right quality produce. You want to make sure you've got the right people selling your produce. You've got the right people marketing your produce and what you're doing so well. I don't want you to focus too much on these 7 circles, because it is relevant, but it's not relevant to this word here, the loyalty and guest experience. What we have found, and you will see that there's a lot of representation to the word all. All, here you go, is the core lifestyle loyalty program. So this is our loyalty program. So it's not all, as in the word all, but it's an acronym for a core lifestyle loyalty program. We have, I think it's 80, 100 million loyal guests that we connect to on a very, very regular, constant basis. So having that real firm loyalty program helps us to drive a lot of programs in our hotels. And what you can see, what this circle here means, is that 71% of our members, so 71% of 60, 70 million people, you can do the maths there, are more satisfied than non-members. So that circle there is telling you whatever you do in your careers is make sure that you're connecting to your guests and try to make them loyal to your brand. Try to make them loyal to your bar. Try to make them loyal to your restaurant. So really working with loyalty and guest experience. Now, we've done a lot of work on there, and there's 150 people working to pull all the analytics together. But without the loyalty, without the guest experience information, we can't delve deep enough to understand how we need to fix some challenges and how we need to drive. Our loyal guests are 63% happier than our competitive set. So I talk about the Hyatt being our competitive set, the Marriott's being our competitive set, the Hiltons, and probably some freestanding restaurants in and around different cities. But if you are a loyal guest, you're 63% happier to come to one of our restaurants and bars than you are to go to somewhere else. Then the rest of these numbers really are more to do with the whole loyalty program. And I'm not going to go into it too much because I think you'll get lost up and caught up in the analytics of this. I would rather you focus on is the important part of ensuring that whatever you do, that you're growing some form of database and that you communicate with your database. And then if you're communicating on a regular basis, you're sending them regular updates and you know what's going on, then they will come back to you and support you and your restaurant and bar in whatever you're doing. So when we look at a little bit of the correlation between our quality performance and F&B revenue, what we've noticed is that 87% of our hotels with the greatest increase in restaurant revenue obtained an increase in RPS. So where we focused on doing really good food and beverage, where we focused on executing all those trends exactly, where we use the pillars, what we're seeing is our reputation score as a hotel has increased. So this is where we're driven above the Hyatt. This is what the tools that we've used to drive our quality and our reputation score above the higher. Now, our top 10 performing hotels, 80% of those top hotels, with 8 of those hotels have shown an increase of 85 points. I mean, this is just world class. This is your 3-star Michelin experience within a hotel, which has been driven by the fact that we know what our guests want, and we understand the correlation by listening to our guests, delivering their expectations in an unexpected environment. Cool. Let's go back. We can show you another pretty picture. This again is the gardens of the Raffles Hotel. That's not me, by the way. But it just gives you a feeling of what we've done for that hotel. It's an amazing hotel. And if anybody has the opportunity to come to Singapore, you've got all my contact details. I'd be more than happy to show you the hotel. So what did we do in this region here? Again, I spent a lot of time working with the team on the loyalty and the guest experience, and we put together this 3-pronged attack. We wanted to focus on the guest and getting their feedback and understanding their feedback. We elevated and reduced our brand standards. A lot of hotel companies have 2,000 standards that you have to do. You come in, you tick. I did that. You have to tick the box. Yes, did your phone answer within 3 rings? Yes, tick. Did you say hello to the guest? Yes, tick. You become robotic. As soon as you start to become robotic and you set yourself along this road of robotism, you lose the authenticity. You lose that connection to the guest. So we reduced the amount of brand standards and made the brand standards more applicable to a guest experience. And then finally, there's no point in one hotel just doing some fantastic work when we can share the best practices. There's no point in me doing something great in my one hotel and everybody else in the company suffering. So we set up a platform of how to share feedback. Okay, so what we've called our program is the voice of guest. And what that basically means is we listen and we have the ability to look over so many different platforms, be it comments that you make on TripAdvisor, be it comments that you make on Facebook, comments that you make on Instagram, comments that you make on Twitter, whatever social media platform, wherever you are, we're listening. I mean, it's legal, it's not illegal. So we're not sort of Donald Trump and sort of cyberspacing into you guys. It's actually you've given us the okay by signing different forms that you probably didn't realize, but you signed the form. So we can actually use that data. And then from that data, we extract everything that comes out of it, the good things, the bad things. We listen to what you're saying within the social media world, and you'll see what happens in a minute. This is super, super important. Number 2, if somebody takes the time to write to you and to complain or to thank you for an incredible experience, you must respond. If you don't respond, people will take that as arrogance, or people will just think that you don't care. And I think probably one of the world's best responses that I've seen in terms of a response was Thomas Keller, when Thomas was absolutely destroyed by the New York Times per se. You need to go on the internet and find his note back to the critic at the New York Times. I have a read of that afterwards, find some time, but his feedback was phenomenal. And per se from then has gone from strength to strength to strength. We then decided that we wanted to fix a competition. I'm a very competitive person. I think being competitive just gives you another opportunity to drive excellence. Okay, so this is one of those analytical slides that when the chef gets to see it, he tends to throw it in the rubbish bin or doesn't really want to look too much into it. So I'm going to try and walk you through this. So this first box here is one of 20 different boxes that's related to the hotel. So it's food and beverage. So I click on this as the chef or the director of food and beverage. And it opens up the blue box below. And I want to understand how my bar is performing. So we've gone into the bar segment, or I could go into food. And because I've got lots of chefs on the call, I'm going to talk about the bar, because you need to learn more about bars if you want to be a whole culinarian and not just a chef. So we then have different sort of tools that we look at, and just like a tick box, I want to understand how good our alcoholic drinks are. I want to understand if our pricing of the is reasonable. I want to understand the quality of our bar service. I want to understand how good our coffee is. Obviously, down in this part of the world, and coffee is extremely important. And hotels generally use Nespresso, or they'll generally use some sort of contract or some brown, warm liquid that you'd have to be a scientist to understand is coffee, instead of something that really is coffee. And I think you know what I'm talking about. And obviously, non-alcoholic drinks is important to us. Just literally over there, and I'll show you a picture in a minute, is Indonesia, the largest Muslim country in the world, and there's not a lot of alcoholic drinks in there. So I want to understand how that's going. So this number here is the total number of respondents that responded to us within a 1 month period. 159 is the number of positive comments. 5 is negative, and this is 24. So when you take these numbers, you throw it into the computer, and it shows you that you are up 85 points in terms of your overall bar experience. Where are you up? Your alcoholic drinks are up 93. So we know that our alcoholic drinks have done really well. But if we look at our bar prices are too expensive in some bars. So that's driven our scores down. And the down arrow basically means that our performance from the previous set of numbers here is down. So from 1 week to the next week, we're down in terms of bar pricing. Our hot beverages are down. Our non-alcoholic drinks have risen, and our wines have dropped. But the important thing here is I would take more truth from this number here, because it's got a bigger number of respondents. So the percentage of what we're listening to is a greater percentage. Whereas if you see here, only 7 people decided to talk to us about bar pricing, and 5 of them didn't like the pricing. This might be one group of 5 people who came into one of the bars, all got pissed off that the bar pricing wasn't good, but they all wrote negative comments. And that's why it's dragged the score down. But on a weekly basis, this is what we look at. So from terms of where our food is, where our variety of pricing, our variety of foods, the different types of foods, the different segments of food, the dining experiences, I could talk to you guys for 2 hours on the way that we use this slide. I don't want to, because I am conscious of time, and I want to make sure that we get through everything. But you have the ability to now know that there is great analytical tools out there that you can use. So, my fingers are too fat. So let me show you. So if I clicked on, let's say, for example, this 5, when my screen is live, I hover over that, and I would get these comments come up. So I've hovered over that 5, and what it will then show me is that there was someone who came into one of the restaurants via booking.com, and they said our breakfast selection is limited. Wi-Fi didn't work, however it was resolved. So by property, I can now understand exactly what's wrong. So if I'm sitting in my office in Singapore and I've opened up this page, this might be the Metropole Hotel in Hanoi in Vietnam, I can then phone the director of food and beverage and say, hey mate, what's wrong with your coffee? Why did your coffee scores drop down? What's gone wrong? And you can see standards are slipping. So I have the ability to look at every single guest comment that comes into my region. I generally don't, because I just wouldn't have the time to do it. But this is what my food and beverage experts on property look at. If you have a big enough operation, and I certainly have a number of those operations across the group, there'll be one person dedicated just to looking at how our performance is compared to previous weeks and how we're performing in general. So it's a really useful tool. And what we found in the past, if there is something wrong and 6 or 7 people have come and said that the coffee is not good, we are then going through a deep root analysis into why that coffee is not good. And sometimes we found out the coffee machine's broken. It's as simple as that, or someone put the wrong beans in the wrong hopper. It's as simple as that. But we can actually start to find these things out from a remote area. So what we then do with that data, we go into another set of analytical data. We have set this up so we understand who our competitors are. We're looking through all social media. We know what our competitors are doing. And what this tells us is that our competitive index, this is again the Hyatts, the Hiltons, the IHGs, the Marriotts of the world. 1 is the equal line. So if you're above 1, you're overperforming against the competitive set. If you're below 1, then your competitors are doing better. And it's broken down into countries, and it's broken down into regions within countries. So I could tell you that if I had a Fairmont in Jakarta, and I saw that on one of their comp indexes that our breakfast was below, I would then ask my food and beverage director to go out and have a look. What is the Ritz-Carlton doing? What is the Grand Hyatt doing? What is the Park Hyatt doing in Jakarta? Go and see what they're doing. Understand what they're doing different. Come back and implement it. Because you can bet your dollar that whichever guests are coming to a Fairmont, they're going to a Four Seasons or they're going to a Grand Hyatt. And they're building their experiences around where they want to stay next based on their current experience. So this hotel here, this is the different types of segments that we can look at. This is our values. This is the competitors' values. So wherever this is, and I couldn't tell you exactly where this slide was taken from because I screen cut out and forgot the important part of the hotel on top. This hotel was running at 74.26 percentage points of quality for their breakfast. The competitive set is running at 83. So we're behind 0.89 in that comp index. So whoever my food and beverage is for this hotel, whoever the chef is for this hotel, that will be their focus for the next 2 weeks. They will focus on their breakfast. They will look at their breakfast. They will find out what's wrong. And I'll tell you a great story and try not to repeat it just in case you ever meet this chef. But I was doing a review of a hotel in China. I went into the hotel 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, spent all day through the hotel. I then sort of finished up at 9 o'clock at night, went to my room. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take a walk through the hotel at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, just to see what's going on. So I went up to where they serve breakfast. And there was a chef cooking his breakfast. And I swear to God, this restaurant is probably sits 300 people. The buffet lines, they must have had 80 or 90 different dishes on the buffet lines. At 1 o'clock in the morning, everything was cooked for breakfast. So I asked the chef, like, have you got a group that's coming in from out of town that wants a midnight breakfast? Or what's going on? He says, no. I'm very proud of what I do, but I just want to make sure that my breakfast is ready for my guests. I'm like, dude, this is 5-6 hours before the first breakfast guest comes in. There was a little bit of a translation problem. I couldn't work out what was going on. So I left it, and that was the first thing I asked the general manager in the morning on the F&B director was, why do we cook breakfast at 1 o'clock in the morning in this particular hotel? They had no idea that breakfast was being cooked at 1 o'clock in the morning. They couldn't work out why their breakfast scores were so bad. So we then get the chef who was cooking the breakfast, and we ask him, why do you cook your breakfast at 1 o'clock in the morning? And he said, Nigel, because the hotel hasn't paid for my taxi fares to get to work in the morning, the first bus that I can get from my local village leaves at 5:30, will get me to the hotel at 6:15, which doesn't give me time to cook my breakfast for my guests. So I think I stay longer at night. I can cook my breakfast so it's ready. And then the guests can have breakfast and I've done my job. Obviously, he didn't quite understand the whole thought process behind this, but this goes to show that just by looking at a comp index like this, understanding that the breakfast score is dropped, that you then spend the time to figure out why. And sometimes it's not the obvious. It's because we as a hotel company didn't pay the guy his fare for his taxi to come to work in the morning because he couldn't get the bus. He wanted to make sure that breakfast was served to the guests how it should be. So just take your time. You'll be surprised on what you can find out by just looking at numbers and what it helps you to go and do. This is just another slide, the way that you can look at the previous slides. So I'm not going to spend too much on this one. Local measure. This is a really sexy tool we have in our toolbox at the moment. This was developed by us in a core. So basically what it is, when you go into this restaurant, it's called Prego, sits at the Fairmont in Singapore. There's a QR code. You zap the QR code. And when you say accept, you're basically allowing us to look at all of your social media posts. So let's just say you've gone into Prego, you sat down and you're halfway through the pizza. You've taken a picture of your pizza, you post it on Instagram, and you say, this is the worst pizza I've ever had. Within 30 seconds, we would have an alert into our hotel. The F&B director and the chef who has it on the mobile phones will be alerted that there is a guest in the restaurant who's ordered a margarita pizza or whatever pizza you want to have, and he's not happy. We will then go and find the guest and ask the guest, we understand your pizza is not to your liking. Can we bring you another pizza? This blows people away. They're like, how the hell do you know that I don't like my pizza? How do you know how bad my food is? This is from us developing these tools and then using the tools to create a quality experience. And when I was asked to sort of define quality that drives revenue, I can't tell exactly how high the quality is and how much revenue you're driven, but doing everything that we're doing now certainly has driven our revenue up. And all of our numbers tell us when we're high quality, our revenues are high. So this is a great little tool to have in the toolbox. I talked a lot about sort of audits and testing our quality. We have to do 2 audits a year that cost us, I don't know, $10,000 an audit. But on a daily basis, we can't be doing every day a $10,000 audit. So we've developed our own internal tool. So this is something that you can take and download on your mobile phone. You walk into the restaurant, and what we generally do is that we would either give this to the front office manager to go to the restaurant, or we give the restaurant manager to go to the rooms. And because they front office and rooms and food and beverage don't like each other, so they're trying to find faults. So every time they're on their phone, I found the fault. But what it's doing for us is it's just giving us another benchmark to help us elevate our overall quality, our overall guest experience. That again tells us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, that then dovetails into making us more money. I told you I like competition. So I set up a competition back in 2017 for hotels, bars, and restaurants to improve quality. You can see that our breakfast has gone up 11 points. Our lunch and dinner experience has gone up 24 points, and our bar experience has gone up 30 points. This is super relevant because we all know there's much more profit in bars than there is in this stuff. So if I'm getting more profit in here, again, it's another tool driving your revenues. But this is just a competition that I personally wanted to see who's the best of the best. And what it does, it shows me which food and beverage director, which chef has got the passion to want to win, who's out there exceeding the guest expectation. Because those are the guys that when I'm opening up the Raffles hotels, when I'm opening up new hotels, those are the guys I want on my team. And those are the guys that I will spend my time developing and motivating moving forward. So the competition we looked about, we monitored. So what is the satisfaction? We had a kind of like a football league. You had 3 divisions, depending on how good you were, which division you were in. We then had action plans, monthly action plans on how to improve. And everybody doesn't want to be in the bottom. Everybody wants to be at the top. Everybody wants to show growth. So everybody got into the competition, and we had some decent prizes as well. We also then set up a platform that we could share the best practices. So if you're doing something really well with your breakfast, post it onto one of our platforms. Other chefs can then get some experience. And then once a month, I would spend some time just posting some of my tips, be it how to raise quality in a bar, how to raise quality in at a breakfast time, how to raise quality in cleaning. And then the whole thing was rewarded as a competition. And we brought every winner of each division. I personally flew them into the F&B conference, so that they were part of the conference. They got the award at the conference, so they felt even better. This is just really a snapshot of what monitoring and what the leaderboard looks like. So you see in 2007, December 18, this hotel in Krabi was sitting at 70% of breakfast satisfaction. They focused on it because their competitive set were outperforming, and they grew it by 11 percentage points. So this hotel at the end of the year was the most outperforming hotel in terms of breakfast. And this shows me who wants to drive. And this is not always about luxury. This slide actually shows luxury hotels. I might have an Ibis or I might have a Novotel that's outperforming. If that's the case, I want that F&B director and take him up into the quality division. This is that platform that I was telling you about, of where we share our best practices. This is where we put our tips on there. This is how we show the scores, and we even get sort of pictures posted on what they've done before and what they've done different to elevate the whole experience. You can see that someone came up with a granola bar here, and all of a sudden that breakfast area at a hotel, I think this is the Pullman in Bali. Everyone's healthy in Bali. Everyone wants grains and nuts. All the Aussies want this type of food for breakfast. The hotel didn't have it before. They put this in. All of a sudden, they're the best performing hotel in that division. Market trends and publications. This is really the last slide. This is something that the team at the quality control guys, this is the reports they're looking at. This is the materials that they're reading. So these are 4 useful things for you to go away and have a look at if you're really into analytics and really want to deep dive into what I've just been looking at. But if you really want to drive revenue through your food and beverage spaces, probably take a look more at the first half an hour of what we spoke about and those pillars and those experiences, because without them, all the rest of it is irrelevant. And that's it. On the hour. Bomb.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Moore. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing all that knowledge. I know, you know, big companies tend to not share all their knowledge because this is kind of an old school style, right? And I'm sure you lived it as I have. And I really thank you that you give the opportunities to our students to really see what your tools are, how to measure, because it's really important. It's something we try to put our emphasis in. What you cannot measure cannot be controlled. And I think Accor is doing a great job, an incredible job in you know, putting all those tools in place to measure the quality, because quality it's experience, and the experience drives revenue, which was the whole idea of why we brought you here today. So,
and Alfonso, I can also say that one of the biggest sort of changes that I've seen in the last 20 years of doing luxury food and beverage, and I've only ever worked in luxury environments. Mm-hmm. The last 3 years, I've had more quality CVs come across my desk than I've ever had in my life. I've worked in 2-star, 3-star restaurants, but now I'm getting more and more quality CVs for people wanting to come and work for us. So I guess it shows that we are doing some good stuff.
We're doing very, very good stuff. Let me tell you something. The other day when I was meeting my students for the first time in the first year of the degree, and so we do kind of a small introduction. And so I asked them, what are your expectations? What would you like to learn? And so one student, she goes and says, I was wondering if I wanted to study to be a pilot or to be a chef. And I was amazed. there are kids over there doubting if they want to be pilots or chefs. I mean, we're doing something right. Of course we are. Yes.
Yeah.
Now it's just, we got to do our jobs from the industry and teach those guys in the right way.
Absolutely.
So let me please, we have, first of all, Adrian, if I'm not mistaken, who's on the other side. I cannot see him, but I'm sure he's able to turn on his camera and his microphone. There he goes. He wanted to ask you a question. So Adrian, please, he's all yours. Go ahead.
So thank you so much. It was a pleasure hearing you at this very inspirational talk, especially the part of the 8 trends and the 4 mainly strategic pillars. And the question was, well, we know more than ever that food and beverage area is very powerful, and it is responsible to create new experiences for clients at the hotels. However, due to the current situation in which we live, well, once this situation ends, do you think this type of customer service related to food and beverage will have to completely change, or maybe it may have to be adapted?
What I think is going to happen, and what we've already seen already, is that guest experiences are going to be fundamentally the most important differentiator. So restaurants that have done really well in our region have ones that have managed to create a guest experience that is above expectation. So if you're looking for an insight of what to do, I think it's all about delivering and looking at those trends and looking at those 4 pillars. I kind of look at those trends and those 4 pillars and think, we knew COVID was coming. We need to write this, because this is how we need to react in COVID times. So I really think it's taking the time to reduce your menus, taking the time to work with local artisans. And this is what the 3-star guys are always doing. But in the hotel business, we sit back and we say, oh, you've got to have a beverage cost of 30%. Your food cost has got to be 24%. You can't buy this product because it's too expensive. That's bullshit. I can't remember the last time I turned around and said to any of my teams, what is your percentage of food costs? What is your percentage of revenue costs? I'm looking at driving guest experiences. I'm looking at driving top line revenues. If you look at the top line revenue, you never need to worry about anything else. It's only general managers of hotels who cut your glass, your china, your linen, your quality of food out because the costs are too high, because you're not making top line revenue, because you're not marketing your restaurants well, you're not giving guest experiences well. If you market your restaurants well, if you give a guest experience, you will make the top line. And all this stuff that the GM likes to cut out will go away, and then you can deliver world-class experiences. It's certainly something that what we're doing within Accor is giving a lot more autonomy to our restaurant managers and our chefs to deliver restaurant experiences as a freestanding restaurant.
And is it working, Mr. Moore?
Yes. Yeah, we're starting to see that we're getting more awards, which is just a recognition. But what we are seeing is that the top line revenues are growing year on year, like for like hotels.
Well, I have to say, I was surprised to see in one of your slides, like for instance, when we were talking about employee engagement, 82% of your managers in F&B believe that the strategy of the group is going in the right direction. So obviously there's something being done correctly in that direction. And I would like you to tell us, if you could, a little bit further, what is the strategy, the communication strategy to get those people involved within the strategy of the group, right? Because that's, I would say that's a huge challenge, the biggest challenge in what we do to bring our people with us.
I guess what we have done, probably the couple of the biggest changes was the fact that we had the purchase of Fairmont Raffles Hotel. So Accor went from a kind of a mid-scale hotel rooms business to luxury hotels. And what Accor didn't realize was the value that food and beverage brings to the overall guest experience. And I think I said on that slide, it's we deliver 5 billion euros of top line revenues from a food and beverage experience. And when you look at the luxury market, especially the luxury market, where food and beverage is good in luxury hotels, we are busier, better hotels. So for the first time ever in a core history, 3-4 years ago, they appointed a CEO for food and beverage. So there was a CEO of food and beverage who sat on the main executive committee in Paris. We reported into him. He didn't give us a lot of direction because we gave a direction of ourselves from a local perspective. There's no point in me doing French croissants in the middle of Indonesia. No one wants a French croissant in Indonesia, but we had to work a bit more smarter. So he is actually our figurehead at the table. So all of a sudden, after so many years, food and beverage have a seat at the main table in Paris. That was the biggest change. And it was communicated outwards, and then the communication channels became more important. And to tell you the truth, a core never had someone like me working for a core. It's now that we've got someone looking after and responsible for food and beverage and driving food and beverage is the reason why we're picking up what we're doing.
And I have to say, you're doing a great job. I have to say, I've lived it while working with Sofitel, with Mr. Jones, and well, I've seen the direction that the group is going to, and I have to say, from the F&B perspective, it's absolutely innovative. And as you said, you're leaving Hyatt behind, which is there used to be the absolute reference in F&B in hotels. So yeah.
It's taken time, but we've still got some work to do.
Yeah, for sure. Adrian, any more questions you would like to ask to Mr. Moore? Otherwise, I will tell Claudia to come in.
No, it's fine. No, thank you.
Thank you,
Adrian, good luck, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Claudia, please, go ahead.
I'm here. Well, thank you again, as Adrian said, for your time and your words. It was so interesting to listen to you. And we were asking more maybe in a personal way as a professional, and through all your experience carrying with these really big responsibilities, and many of them, how as a professional what do you think that are the ideas or the keys for you as a person to lead with this big work, or with this with your work?
I guess I'm fortunate enough that I get to travel extensively. I get to travel. Before COVID, I was on an airplane twice a week, somewhere in the world. It might be just a trip across the island to Indonesia, or it might be a trip to Japan. It's getting out there, finding what the locals are doing, because there's so much good local food, and understanding what the local food is, and then going back to the roots of that local food. I think what we do in hotels and what we do wrong is that we understand how to make a good Indonesian noodle, but we don't know the true authenticity of the recipe. So it's spending the time to find the true authenticity of the recipes and bringing them back into the hotel to deliver. So for me personally, the success would be around the amount of travel I do, keeping my eyes open, listening, and always understanding that failure is an option. You can try something. If it doesn't work, then try again. If it doesn't work 3 or 4 times, then obviously forget it, but just keep trying things. If you're passionate, you think that something's going to work, try it, go for it, give it a try. But at the same time, make sure that you're focusing on the points that are working and the points that are not working, and bring the right people around you. I couldn't do what I do without having the right team. So for me, it's fundamentally building the right team, building the right managers, keeping them motivated, speaking to them, and connecting with them. At one point, I used to know of the dates of everybody's birthday. Simple thing like that. It'd be in my calendar. My secretary helped me, and it'd just be a sort of a WhatsApp or whatever it is. Happy birthday. Now I've got too many people to do it on a daily basis, but things like that help you elevate and grow yourself and get connected. And I think it's also that you've got to gain the respect of everybody. And I would walk through the hotel. I would say hi to a housekeeper. I would say hi to everybody, to the garbage man. They're not the little person, because if your garbage man doesn't show up one day, then you got to take the garbage out and you've got to know where the garbage room is. And I've questioned general managers of where the garbage rooms are. And some general managers don't even know where the garbage room is. And it's not until you start to go down into the really the depths of a hotel and under the structures. Everybody is important in our industry. Nobody, if you're a general manager and sitting in a big office, you're probably the most least important person in my world. The most important person for me is the person who's delivering the expectations to our guests or supporting the teams to deliver. Hopefully that answers the question, Claudia.
Yes, great. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, and good luck with your career.
Any more questions, Claudia? Are we done?
Yeah, we are done.
Thank you, Claudia. Mr. Moore, just to finish and kind of wrap up the session, I have one last question. First of all, there was someone asking on internally, what would be the strategy from your perspective? You were saying one of the trends you follow or Accor is following is convenience, right? Talking about food. And there was this image of a lobster, which could be converted from my point of view into a convenient kind of a presentation or plate. But how would you bring down that concept lower to, say, for example, a burger or a club sandwich, which is one of the classics, or a Caesar salad? Do you think these kind of concepts can be transported into no matter what destination? Can we have successfully a Caesar salad in Colombia or in Africa or in Indonesia? Can it work on a menu? What is it about? Does it just have to be tasteful?
I would be more relevant to be looking at the local community. Does someone in Colombia want to eat a Caesar salad? You might have one person out of 35 takeaway orders who wants a Caesar salad, which tells me that they don't want to eat Caesar salad in Colombia. I would rather find out what is the 2 kilometers around my hotel of local food that is missing, but what people want. Because what you tend to find, if I look in Singapore, where I live, there's not a great burger place. And I think Deliveroo have done a great thing where they have these ghost kitchens. So you've got this ghost kitchen that can send a burger, can send an Indonesian noodle, can send some Japanese udon. It's all from one kitchen, but it's just ghost. So you don't know where the food is actually coming from. We are certainly doing a lot more work with our kitchen spaces that sit empty and idle a lot of days. So we've actually created 2 or 3 different ghost restaurants within our own hotels. We deliberately do not say that it's the burger joint at the Raffles Hotel, because people automatically say that it's going to be an expensive burger. But the burger joint at Raffles Hotel might be called Mr. Burger, but it's getting the quality coming out of the Raffles Hotel. So there's a lot of ways to look at where convenience is going. That convenience slide dovetails into everything. I wouldn't be doing lobster everywhere. It's just a picture that we chose. I would only focus on food that is needed within the vicinity of where you are living.
Understood. Is this a permanent strategy, or is just because of the situation that you were talking about, this ghost kitchen in hotels? Are you planning to keep this strategy, moving forward? It's just a lockdown situation.
No, it's certainly something that we're considering. We've certainly seen, obviously, revenues increase from takeaway and things from there. It's also keeping our food and beverage very relevant. And you know what? Right. We can turn on and turn off these kitchens overnight. So if we think that the burger place is not working, next day do we pop it up as a sushi bar, or do we go seasonal, and when it's the festive period, we do turkey sandwiches and be the best turkey sandwich or whatever. So I think there is a lot of legs to look at it. But again, we'd have to work with a partner, be Deliveroo, be Grab, be Uber Eats, because the analytics behind everything is phenomenal.
Right.
We've worked quite closely with Grab, and the way that they push people's privileges into the front page of your phone and the way they make you want to order a burger is insane. I mean, they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on getting the analytics right. So that's kind of like where I would be looking at, working with the right partner. Some ghost kitchens where it works well, but only doing food that is relevant. So Caesar salad in Colombia probably wouldn't work.
However, we tend to find it.
It might be something else. I don't know. I've never been to Colombia. Maybe I should get on a plane and go to Colombia sometime.
If you ever think about it, just give me a call. I'll come by with you. Well, Mr. Moore, we don't want to get any more time from you. I thank you very, very much for being with us today, for sharing your knowledge. It's been a real pleasure hosting you today, as I said, and I hope that you found it interesting as well.
Absolutely, and as I said, the offer is there. If anybody wants to connect, who's on this call, wants to connect with me, you can share the presentation. You've got all my contact details. Please share, and hopefully we can make some connections moving forward. Because the one thing that is key for me is that the ladies and gentlemen on this call are our future. These are the ones that we need to take care of.
I hope this is the beginning as well of a deepest relationship between BCC, the Basque Culinary Center, and you. I've told you already. I'm sure there are many ways to find ways where we can connect, and hopefully, we'll see each other soon. Thank you again. In any case, Mr. Moore.
Perfect, fantastic, and everybody have a fantastic festive period, whatever you're doing and wherever you are in the world.
You too as well. Take care.
Thank you. Now.
Good evening.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, Mr. Moore.